I thought lately about what is the most important skill that we have in life. What is the one skill that we cannot be without? And for me, being proactive is the most important skill because everything will come from our proactivity. Everything will come from us deciding to do something, doing that, achieving that. And it's the best way to get out of a crisis in life. If you find yourself falling down into a hole in life, your proactivity is the tool that you can use to dig yourself out. So I've seen myself as a proactive person, but it turns out that both me and other people have a tendency to be proactive in some areas and passive in others. For example, it's really common today for people to be totally passive with their free time and spend a lot of time on their phone scrolling. It's also really common that people are super proactive with their work and their business, but are not that proactive with their social life, for example. And for other people, it might look like they're totally social butterflies, super proactive with their free time, but they totally neglect their finances, for example. They have no plan on finances and spend all their money. Then I ask myself, how can we train the proactive muscle? How do we actually become more proactive if we are really used to being passive in one area in our life? And the answer I came up with is that copying what someone else did successfully is the easiest way to become more proactive in our life. But most people really have an aversive or awkward feeling about copying others. But if we copy the right people, that is the least expensive way. It's the best way to get great results in that area. Experimenting ourselves by trial and error, it's much more expensive, both with resources and time. So let's say that you decide to improve your finances, for example. Wouldn't it make sense to find one person that is really successful financially, maybe in your social circle, maybe it's someone at your job, or maybe it's a person that you model that you don't know personally. Then you start to do things that they are doing, small things and big things, but you start to copy their behavior and what they're doing and how they treat their money, for example. Then eventually you will probably have better finances. That is a method that I applied in my finances many years ago, and I learned from certain individuals that I could observe in my surroundings, and that really helped a lot. Another example, if a person wants to improve their style and appearance, they could find one person that they think, this person dresses really well, holds themselves really well, and they could copy that style. That would be a surefire way to improve their style, instead of just going into a store buying lots of different clothes and then trying to put that together into something nice. That is a lot more difficult than seeing what someone else has done that looks really great from the start. Or if one wants to style one's apartment, super difficult to just go trial and error and try to do different things, buy different pieces and trying to put them together. Much easier to find a specific apartment that you really love, or a house, or photos of that, and replicating that, trying to get a similar style. How are others doing? For example, how are others matching things in their apartment? What type of artwork do they use? What type of furniture do they use in their apartment? So if you have neglected one area in your life and find it really difficult to change that, the easiest way to get a successful change is to emulate and copy what someone else did who is successful in that area. One thing that's important to remember is to not copy the wrong person. We do not want to copy a person who has not the results that we want. We would not listen to a poor person for advice on how to improve our finances, for example. You would not listen to a depressed person on how to become happier. So choosing wisely who you emulate, that is the most proactive action. And examples of this from my own personal life is in my early 20s, when I didn't have any money, but I saw two individuals they were not close friends to me. They were more some people that I knew briefly. That one of them, he had created and sold a company, for example. He owns a very beautiful house near the ocean, for example. He has also been involved in renting out apartments, in real estate, and being the CEO of a company. So the other person, he was a sales manager at a large company, and I made sure to learn everything I could from these these individuals. I spent as much time as I could with these people, picking like small habits, large habits from these individuals so that I could integrate them into my own life. I've made sure to spend really a lot of time with these people, to become friends with them and really suck up all small habits that they were doing. You know, small things like how did they talk to other people when they were out in the city? How did they talk to the cashier in the store, for example? How did they organize their kitchen every night to have a organized kitchen when they woke up the next morning? Small things like this. And that was really uncomfortable at the time because they felt like on a completely other level than me, and I felt really intimidated by that sometimes. And since then I've managed to build my own net worth and build my own business. Same with health. When it comes to health, I looked around and saw who are the most healthy people that I could get in contact with. It turned out that they had a course once or every other year with a really great fitness coach from the US, who came to Sweden, to Stockholm, to train them. And I made sure to join that group. And that was also really emotionally painful because they were at a complete other level than me. And CEOs of big health companies, big respectable health companies in Sweden, were there. Really successful, awesome people were there. And just seeing a group of people being that healthy was totally mind-changing, because everyone looked like totally fit. They looked 20 years younger, 20, 30 years younger than they actually are. And just being in that group really made me shift how I was treating my own body and I was thinking about health. So I hope you got some ideas on how you can emulate others, how that is one of the most proactive activities that we can do, especially if there's one area in your life that you're stuck in, that you really want to develop in. Find one person that is a role model that you could emulate, and if you can, spend time with them, suck up all small details that they're doing, integrate them in your own life, and then the results will come. Thank you so much for watching. See you again next week.